So remember, whenever we would multiply stuff out and we would get a final polynomial, we're going to reverse that and go back to the parentheses. Now, the first one that we're going to do is greatest common factor. So at the top, I want you to write the unit, not the unit learning target, but today's learning target. It says, I can factor out a GCF for any polynomial. Now, factor means division. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to divide. We're going to find the biggest number that divides into 2 or more terms. That's all we're doing. And then we're going to put it in parentheses and put the GCF on the outside. Now, what is the biggest number that goes into both 2 and 42? 2. Yes, good. Take a point. The only number that goes into both 2 and 42 is 2. Okay, so now what you do is you divide both of these by 2. So we do 2x divided by 2, which gives us what?
2x divided by 2?
Yeah, 2x divided by 2 gives you 1. Those cancel, and you're left with an x. So x goes here. So everybody see how I did that? Alright, then we have 42y, and we divide that by 2. So what's 42 divided by 2? 21 y.
And that's it?
That's it. We're done. I know.
So how'd you know to divide by 2?
Because that's the biggest number that goes into both 2 and 42.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I know this is math class with you.
Does this have anything to do with what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
No.
I'll ask you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, do they have any letters in common? Do both of these have an X or do both of these have a Y?
No.
So we don't care about it. You find the biggest number that divides into both of those. So let's write that. Find.
Do we always put that number on the outside?
Yes, that's the point of it. Find the biggest number that divides. Find the biggest number that divides. That's what we're trying to do. That's what factoring means. Are we ready for example 2, or do we need a minute?
We're ready.
Why do you need a minute? No. Okay, so on number 2, the first thing you do, we have 2 steps for this one, because do they both have an X in common? Yes. So the first thing we do, find the GCF. That's the biggest number that divides into both 4 and 24. Do what?
4.
It is 4. So our GCF is 4 this time. And then for our variables, step 2, you take the...
Does GCF stand for greatest common factor?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Come on, my bad.
Super proud. And then you take the lowest exponent of the x's. Lowest exponent of variables. And what's the smallest exponent, 3 or 4?
3.
So that means that they both have at least 3 x's in there. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to bring 4x cubed to the outside of our parentheses. And if we have 2 terms in the middle, if we have 2 terms to start with, we're going to have 2 terms in the parentheses. Now, what's 4 divided by 4?
2. Wait, 1.
1. Okay, so we leave that. And then what's 4 minus 3? So we just have 1 x left over. Does everybody see how I did that? Are we sure?
You okay?
Okay, we did 4 divided by 4 and we got 1. And remember, we don't have to write that. And then we did 4 minus 3 and we got 1. Next, you do 24 divided by 4 and what do you get?
24 by 12.
6. And then if you have 3 x's and you take out 3, how many are left over?
0.
None. So this is your final answer. Does anybody have any questions? Are you sure?
I'm not
You say you got 3 X's, take out all the
Yes, because we brought 3 to the outside. Okay, now let's just practice some like this. What we're going to do is we're going to have a separate page for each of our tabbies. So we're going to turn our page over, and page 26 is going to be greatest common factor. So we're just going to turn it over. Do y'all want to write it on the left or on the right?
Do we have homework tonight?
Left.
Well, I'm asking.
Yep.
'cause I
Can I finish? Okay. We're going to do it on the left or on the right? I think we should do it on the left so that we don't waste a paper. Okay. Yes, you'll need to check Google Classroom for your homework.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to title this 26. And this is GCF factoring. This is on your final exam. That's what we're going to practice for the next week. All right, so the directions say factor each polynomial Alright, so these have a variable in common?
No.
No, they don't. But do they have a number in common? What's the biggest number that goes into both 5 and 20? 5. Okay, so we're going to write 5 on the outside of our parentheses. Alright, what's 5x divided by 5? X, good. And then we're going to have a minus because this is negative. What's 20 divided by 5? And then we bring down our, good. And boom, we're done.
Do you think doing it doing it backwards is better than doing it forward? Like you said, doing it backwards the body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's
No. Uno más and then homework. Alright, what's the biggest number that goes into both 6 and 12?
6.
Alright, do they have a variable in common?
Yes.
So we take the smallest exponent. What's smaller, 3 or 2? Okay, so we bring 6x squared to the outside. Now, if we start with 2 terms, we need to end with 2 terms in our parentheses. So what's 6 divided by 6? And we don't have to write that. What's 3 minus 2? So we have an x left over. What's 12 divided by 6? 2. And if you have 2 x's and you take 2 out, how many are left over? None, and we're done. Yes.
With the homework, can we also have like 2 of those a plus b squared for like this point or something?
No.
Or just
All right, homework. 2 problems. What are you laughing at?
Oh, slow outside.
Mm.
I know.